Okay, quick disclaimer. I go through a little bit of this at the end of the video. I'm joking for most of this. For like, I'd say 90%. Anything I say that's rude, like genuinely rude, I'm definitely joking. Anything I say that you construe as rude but could be construed another way, I'm probably not joking. I'm gonna level with you. Um, but yeah, this guy made a 9 minute video, and you'll be watching the start of this at very least. So you made a 9 minute video on me. Oh, I've knocked a Fanta off my desk. I'm very lucky that was empty. But yeah, he made a mad video, and I've gone through it, all 9 minutes of it, and I've managed to milk it for 50 minutes somehow. But yeah, I just go through it point by point. So have a good watch, and it's gonna be a bit rough around the edges. I made this in 12 hours, if that. No, not even. Wait, what time is it? 6? Yeah, I started this at like 5, went on a break at 6, and then started again at about midnight. So I've made this about 7 hours. So it's going to be a little bit rough around the edges, but I think it gets my point across pretty well enough. Yeah. So yeah, let's go.
I'm redoing my response to this one because the last part about democracy is fucking funny as shit and deserves a response to, right? So to start with, right, you're judging Scotland's economy based on the fact that it's a similar size to Algeria for GDP output, right? So Scotland's GDP output is what, £231 billion a year, right? £231 billion, right? Algeria's economy, similar size. Key fucking difference, lil nit, that you have completely ignored. What's the population size compared to Algeria? 5.6 million to Algeria's 45 million, right? Do you understand how GDP per capita works?
This is a point that pro-separatist independence people who like to argue all the time. I'd probably acknowledge it. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, in an ideal world where Scotland got exactly what it wanted, exactly what it negotiated, yeah, probably you'd see a higher GDP per capita. But if you're going to throw GDP out because it's not a good enough stat for you, we may as well throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's get just GDP in general per capita or not just out the question. What we're really discussing at that point is purchasing power, what you can actually buy with your money. Okay, and when you check that out, Algeria and Scotland are actually relatively similar. And now keep in mind, this is while 30 to 40% of Algeria's GDP is just not calculated because it's not tracked by the government. Okay, so already you're at a disadvantage. Algeria is also a very young population compared to Scotland's old, aging, realistically, if we want to go too far, dying population. Okay, and a smaller population with more expensive labour just means that it's going to be harder for you to maintain that level. That's what the math does. You act like the higher number in Algeria is somehow to benefit of Scotland, when all in fact it shows, or all it should show, is that Algeria has more upwards mobility because they have more people with cheaper labour. They can do more things with less money. All right. Then you love to argue as if you're going to get everything you want in trade negotiations. You're going to get all the resources. You're going to get all the bases or whatever. You're going to get just everything that you could possibly want. But then at that point, you're the 33rd largest GDP in an independent Scotland, negotiating against the 5th largest GDP. The purchasing power of England, were you to leave, would be infinitely higher. Not obviously not infinitely, I'm being hyperbolic, but it would be extremely higher than the purchasing power of Scotland as a country. So the idea that you'd get all the things that you want, everything, I have no idea how you would do that. And if the plan is just to take on debt to buy Westminster out, is the plan just to plunge Scotland into trillions of dollars of debt as it's an emerging nation, pushing away all possible investment? Like, what's the plan for Scotland there?
So let's break down England, right? England is £2.14 trillion of GDP output, okay? Break that down over 57 million people. That means per head, the actual amount of money that the English get for spending per person is roughly £37,000 per person, right? Break down to 131 billion split over 5.6 million people, which is the accurate actual population currently of Scotland, because England's is between 37.1 and 37.8. So I just did 37.1 just to give them that wee extra boost, you know. Break down Scotland's GDP per capita is £41,250 per person in Scotland, which means on average we have an extra £4,000 roughly that gets spent on Scots. So that's independence, right? That's the start of independence.
I don't know where this 4,000 number has come from. Normally 2,000 is the number that's debated on, in that the average Scottish citizen gets £2,000 more spent on them. The highest I've ever seen is 2,600. So 4,000 seems high. I'd probably have to fact check you on that. But you can't even agree collectively as a political movement on what that figure is. So I don't know why I should have to do that work for you. As you can see, the scene's changed. But the other issue with this, it's a different time of day. The other issue with this is it takes nothing into account. It takes no potential change in Scottish investment. It takes no potential change in Scottish valuation in terms of currency or GDP. These things would change for an independent Scotland, and whether you like it or not, at least initially, that change would be to the net negative. So you sit there, you quote this magical 2,000 number, and the biggest issue with it is that's not some future of Scotland, that's not some far off thing, that's what Westminster spends on you. That comes from London itself. As you sit there on an 11% deficit and tell me that an independent Scotland would mean that they have £2,000 more when they already have that because that's what Westminster gave them. No, this is an absurd argument. I'm so sorry, but what the fuck?
Talk about a week in Scotland. At the start of independence, Scots will have more money still spent on them than England has currently on their own. Where's this week in Scotland that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, so I can actually go through with you some of the ways, if we're not talking financially, if we were to broaden the umbrella a bit, I can actually go through with you some of the ways, major ways in which Scotland is weakened. First of all, you wouldn't be an automatic member of NATO. You'd have to negotiate your way in. Negotiating your way in is the easiest thing, trust me. And with the SNP's track record, good luck with that, mate, because you can't be a corrupt NATO member. That's why Ukraine couldn't get in. Alright, second of all, you'd instantly be out of the Five Eyes, so good luck with any intelligence gathering or data or whatever the fuck. You'd immediately be off the UN Security Council. That's, again, something you get from the UK. All of these things are. You would lose access to Interpol and Europol. Of course, these things could be negotiated back, but you're losing access to these things for at very least a significant amount of time. You would lose access to the G7 permanently and the G20 permanently. You're not a big enough country to be in those. You lose access to the World Trade Organization. You'd lose access to the IMF, the World Banks, the Financial Action Task Force. You'd lose access to the World Health Organization. Again, these things would be negotiated back over time slowly. But the loss of these institutions would decimate Scotland. You sit there and you go, how would they be weaker? As you sit in the fifth largest economy in the fifth, I did that. We're the fifth largest economy in the world, and an independent Scotland would sit at 33rd. What do you mean? What do you mean, how are we weaker? You're definitionally weaker. I hate this point, and I hate how pissy you got about it, considering the fact that you're sat there saying, but an independent Scotland wouldn't be weaker at all. Okay, mate. I'm arguing with nonsense. And then on top of that, that's not even to mention the fact that any trade agreements that the United Kingdom has would instantly not fall into Scottish hands, right? You'd have to renegotiate those trade deals for partners that are going to be less willing to deal with you because they've already made this trade deal in the past, so that one's going to be difficult. And then in order of importance, who do you think the biggest trading partners of Scotland are? Because I'll tell you right now, number 1 is England, number 2 is Wales, and number 3 is Northern Ireland. So you'd be trading most of your stuff with a country you just seceded from and acting like you're going to get favourable terms for that. Again, this is the land of delusion. This isn't. I don't know if the thing is, England and Scotland were formed as a trade union to get better trade. So when a separatist for Scottish independence is arguing, well, that's not, you left the EU and we didn't vote to leave the EU, I can kind of respect it. I can kind of respect that. That's a valid argument. You know what? You joined us for trade. We kind of fucked you on trade. Yeah. But when you sit there and you say, oh, Scotland won't be weaker in any capacity, what are you even talking about at that point? What are you even. This isn't a conversation anymore. This is the delusions of a madman.
I'm curious if you could point it out. Also, choosing to specifically say that Scotland's economy is roughly the same size as Algeria was an intentional point on your part because you're trying to make us look weak like an African country.
Now, I'd like to be. Hold on. Let me be perfectly clear. This has actually made me quite uncomfortable. What do you mean? I never said Algeria was a weak country. In fact, let's have a look at the video you uploaded just before this one, and the one that you're replying to my comment on. Let's have a look at that.
Hi Mystic, of all the comments that I've now had in older videos, I had said I wasn't really going to respond to any just because I didn't really want. I've been away for 12 days basically in Africa, and I was like, I don't really want to have to come back and then respond to like.
And that's what makes me feel uncomfortable about this. Because I didn't say Algeria was a weak country. I simply said Algeria because you had just been to Africa. And Algeria is an African nation with a similar GDP. It's really weird that you would say, oh, a weak African country. That's some deep-seated hatred you got in there, my guy. You should probably get that looked at.
I mean, I've literally just got back from Tanzania, right, where we have 33 times the strength in our currency compared to Tanzania.
It ends up going on like a fairly long rant here about how Tanzania, if you go to Tanzania, you can buy a Coke for 30 pence. Okay, I understand how relative economy strength works. I understand that if you're a rich person going to a poor nation, you could probably buy more. Yeah, that makes sense. I also have been abroad. I've been to Vietnam. I've bought a pair of Nike sneakers for £5. So, yeah, this is a weird rant. I'm just gonna cut. I have no idea why you went on this. I understand that. Well, first time abroad, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna make arguments that, oh, well, Scotland's better than Algeria because we've got 33 times the economy strength. Then the UK is better than Scotland because we have 14 times. The UK together is 14 Scotlands. Scotland alone is one Scotland, and if every country in the UK was Scotland, it would be 4 Scotlands, but you're getting the benefit of how many again? 14. If my son was 14, he'd be drinking at the dinner table, and I think your son would be drinking at the dinner table too. So that's kind of a lot.
1 penny is 33 fucking shillings. For 10,000 Tanzanian shillings, it's roughly about £3. For a bottle of Coca-Cola over there, it was 30 fucking pence. Because our economy is completely fucking different than in Africa. Again, Algeria, 45 million people split over roughly the same economic value as Scotland. Not fucking comparable. Yes, they have the same gross domestic produce output, but not when it comes to actual population fucking size.
Yeah, so at this point, I just need to give you a quick disclaimer. Algeria is not a fucking modern country. About 30 to 40% of Algeria's actual GDP, of its, like, gross domestic, what it's doing, what it's trading, what it's selling, both in the country and out, 30 to 40% of Algeria's GDP is uncalculated, which... So, first of all, you're not actually a comparable economy because all of your shit's regulated because you live in, you're welcome, the United Kingdom, right? So, no, you don't have comparable GDPs. And again, I think I've already said this, but Algeria has infinitely more room to move up as an emerging nation. It has infinitely more capacity to move up as an emerging nation with a younger population as opposed to Scotland's dying one. If anything, you're just you're making Algeria sound better than Scotland, which I would have no problem with, but with your weird anti-African racism, maybe you do, I don't know.
Massive difference. Our economy's at least 8 times fucking stronger than Algeria's. That's a start. Now, you've done this fucking stupid wee bit. Oh, you don't understand democracy. How long are all of our elections, buddy?
I don't know if what you're arguing in this upcoming bit that I will play, I don't know if what you're arguing is that an elected leader should be forced to play out their 4 or 5 years, even when politically null and void and unable to achieve anything. Or you're arguing that we should hold a referendum on Scottish independence as often as we hold elections. And let me just tell you, both of those things are really retarded, dude. Like, that's just stupid. That's just Stupid. Okay. Anyway, let's hear what terrible, terrible points about democracy I made. You know, I know how democracy works in this country, so. And you're about to prove you don't, for the record. So let's please, for your viewing pleasure.
How long does an election take in the UK? What's the cycle? 4 to 5 years for a fucking election. We've had 8 prime ministers now in a decade. 8 prime ministers in a decade. That's how fucking bad Westminster is right now.
Remind me, who was the SNP leader for a really long time? I think her name started with Nicola Sturgeon. Is that it? And what did her husband do? Was it? Oh yeah, it was embezzling. It was embezzling from you, the Scottish taxpayer. Well, it's an Americanism. I don't like saying the taxpayer because money comes from the treasury, but yeah, he's essentially stolen money from you, right? Like, whether fuck me, man. How are you gonna say Westminster's got all its shit fucked as your own leader is stealing money out of your own pocket? Like, yikes.
That's how fucking bad the democratic process is in England. Every fucking time an English Prime Minister comes in and fucks up everything.
Most people love to do this. They love to go, oh, sorry, I'm vaping, let me... Scottish people seem to love to do this. They sit there and they go, oh, look how fucked Westminster is with a fucking heart full of love and a belly full of fish. Alright, they go, oh, look at Westminster, look at how fucked they are. They've had, look at how many PMs they've had in 10 years. Eight. Damn you. 8. What has almost any PM done to detriment Scotland? I mean, I guess we could go the full decade back to David Cameron. Yeah, that guy seemed to fuck it leaving the EU, and then, I mean, I don't think I hear PMs talk about Scotland very much. Scotland seems to have a lot of its own devolved powers. What is Westminster doing so detrimental to you right now as a Scottish person? I don't think you have an answer for that because there isn't one.
Which they do on a regular basis. They just add the next decade to the list. Look at Burnham. Burnham gets to sit with no fucking prior.
This argument really pisses me off because I know that you would have defended Kamala Harris being nominated for president. And even if you didn't, it's just annoying because that's not how democracy works. That's not how British democracy works. You elect an MP, they normally stand for a party or they stand independent, and they vote down those lines. That's you never vote in a person. Andy Burnham was not elected, sure. Neither was Boris Johnson. Neither was Theresa May. She had an election. Neither was David Cameron. Neither was Tony Blair. Neither was Margaret Thatcher. None of these individuals were voted in. You sit there and you go, oh, you don't understand how democracy works, as you sit there and say, we didn't elect Andy Burnham. It's just a stupid statement. It's a statement that betrays your very fundamental lack of knowledge or understanding of how both of our countries have run for hundreds of years. It blows my fucking mind.
Came up as a mayor, was previously a minister at one point, but came up as a mayor, then won a by-election, and now he's been made the Prime Minister with nobody actually voting the fucking guy in.
Yeah, so again, incorrect. The people of Makersfield voted him into being a P, and the Labour members, the members of Labour, voted Andy Burnham. So, this is such a fundamental flaw that if you can't look past this, there's no help for you, dog. I'm sorry. Nobody elects any PM. You don't vote for a person. You don't vote for an individual. You vote for a party. And Burnham is in that party. He's been in that party, I'm pretty sure, longer than I've been alive. I'm looking at you on this screen. I can see you getting on a bit, but longer than I've been alive. I'm only 23.
Like, maybe ask all the Scottish Labour voters that voted for Labour in 2024 to get rid of the Tories if they're fucking happy with the current situation.
Under 10-second response here. I just don't care. I don't care how you vote. I don't care how anyone votes. As long as Labour gets in, that's all I really care about at the end of the day. Alright, I'm at Labour. What can I say?
This is the thing I think that's so funny about people that want to come in and chat unionist pish, right? You want to bash on about fucking democracy, then deny everyone the right to the democratic process, even though every 45 years we have a democratic process in this country, but we keep getting foisted upon as English prime ministers.
I can't believe I have to explain this to you, but crippling Westminster at the fucking knees every 10 years because you're throwing your fucking toys out the pram is not how a country works, okay? We plan, the UK plans further than 10 years in advance. If we're and you're arguing for a Scottish referendum every 5 years. This is that you have no understanding of how government works. You have no understanding of anything. And if you represent an independent Scotland, then God fucking save us all, I guess.
English prime ministers that we don't fucking elect.
Nobody has ever elected a UK prime minister again. You have a child's view of democracy, clearly. Like in your head, is democracy when people vote? Is that it?
Burnham wasn't elected in Scotland by anybody. Starmer was elected as a protest against the Conservatives.
Hey, but here's a secret. None of them were elected. You elected Labour in protest, not Keir Starmer. Nice one though. Real American understanding of the world. I'll grant you that.
And then Starmer fucked everything up. Starmer also himself, on the news before he became Prime Minister, said that he would support Scotland getting another referendum because it was the choice of the Scottish people.
Well, then Starmer was wrong. Am I not allowed to have that opinion, or Starmer was wrong about that? That's that job, I guess.
And as soon as he became the Prime Minister, he changed his tune. Because it happens all the fucking time. As soon as they sit down, Whitehall comes to them and goes, "You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. We've got that polling that was done. The Lord Ashcroft polling that was done in 2021 that they won't release to the public."
Yeah, and he doesn't have to release those polls because it's a private poll. It's not under the purview of the British Polling Council. So I don't know what you expect him to. Should we just legalise private polls? Is that your argument here, or like it's a private poll? These exist for reasons, and we don't need to know those reasons because it's a private poll. Like if I go around to Tesco, my local Tesco, and I go around to each person and I ask them to rate fucking cock out of a scale of 1 to 10. I don't know. There's no legal requirement for me to publish that, right? And you sitting there and going, "Well, why wouldn't you release the data? Is it because all the men like cock?" It's not for you to know. It's a private poll. If you're arguing for the eradication of private polls, I think you're an idiot. And that's plain and simple.
Surprisingly, every single person that becomes Prime Minister says the same thing every single time. We'll grant the Scots their independence or their right to referendum, and then they change their tune as soon as they're fucking elected, because they're lying bastards. Lying bastards. No other way to see it. English politicians are lying bastards. They've got no fucking interest in Scotland going independent, because then they will lose £231 billion out of the economy.
Once again, your head leaders are being done for embezzlement, so let's not throw around the shame game for our politicians. And then 230 odd billion, yeah, it's a lot of money. It's also only 8% of our GDP. We'd still be top 10 economy in the world, and you would be 33rd. Westminster isn't the one taking the biggest hit here. Scotland is. Again, because you operate in a world where Scotland gets every conceivable fucking advantage in negotiating, in resource, in every aspect of Scottish life. You just assume that if you went independent, everything would go your way. That's not how the world works. And that's definitely not how segregating yourself from a country you're part of works, okay?
As Mark Carney said, the assets in Scotland are north of £1 trillion. Drag that out of the UK economy, watch the UK economy crumble.
If you were to just tell me that this bit of the video was a joke, I would actually believe you, and I'd feel better about this part of the video. That's not what Carney said whatsoever. Carney said that the institutions Scotland holds, institutions that if Scotland went independent and there started to be a risk of the Scottish currency collapsing, would instantly move south. And if you don't recognise that, I don't know what to tell you. That is exactly what would happen the second there was a whiff of danger within an independent Scottish currency, which would be immediately. But I guess we're operating in Delulu land, so I guess I'm just gonna say, well, when England goes independent, we'll actually be able to redefine our borders slightly better, and we know where all the oil fields are, so we'll have more oil. And because I just said it, it's true now, because that's the basis you're operating on. Because that's not even what Carney said. Carney was talking about institutions, mainly banking. And just to be clear, these institutions aren't Scottish. They have no tie into Scotland. If Scotland had a weak currency that wasn't the pound and didn't have the backstops and the strength of the pound, they would just move. That's what institutions do.
They need it. They need the oil and gas. They need the energy, and eventually
We needed those things, and you guys needed those things. So, as the union that we are, we started getting these things, and those said things will have to be negotiated on how those resources are split. A negotiation that will take place between the 33rd largest country in GDP and the 5th largest country in GDP. Yes, we need the oil. Yeah, well done. The world runs on oil, and a lot of it's in the North Sea, which is where you fuckers live. Well done. And I say you fuckers, I just mean you separatists that can't argue your point without, because you're about to mention the water, even though that's been debunked by your own government.
they're gonna need the fucking water, because we have more water in the whole of Loch Ness compared to the whole of England and Wales together.
Is this your favourite fun fact? Nobody's stealing Scottish water. Scottish water remains in Scotland, apart from, I guess, I don't know if there's any rivers that flow across the border, but Scottish water is Scottish. Nobody's taken your water. Your own government, again, debunks this. Oh, there's a lot of water in Loch Ness. Good one. Is that your favourite fact?
Where are they going to get their water from when the climate is getting hotter and hotter and hotter, to the point now that we've had to ban outdoor barbecues in places like the Cairngorms in case we fucking torch the place and burn it to the ground?
I don't know why he's sat there blaming Westminster for all of climate change. I don't know what to say to this argument. Oh, the world's burning, so you're gonna steal our water, even though you haven't stolen our water and the world has been burning. Like if we wanted your water, we'd take it, and God knows Kent needs it. Okay, fuck me. Nobody's taking your water. Nobody.
Last week, our first seat was on fire in Edinburgh because things are getting hotter.
Is wildfires really the point you want to argue when I know factually that Scotland gets hundreds of wildfires a year? Like, sure, it's getting hotter. Sure, you've established a fact. Now, if I was to say Scotland's importing migrants, so that vape shop in the Glasgow train station burnt down, is that those things correlate? An immigrant owned it, right? But there's no causation. There's no he wasn't an immigrant, so he vindictively burned down the Glaswegian train station. It's not a valid argument. Just as yes, it's getting hotter, but Scotland's also always had wildfires. You're pointing to causation when all there is a correlation.
What are they going to do with all those assets? You tell me. Curious.
Well, if those assets are in Scotland and they're foreign institutions doing trading from Scotland, we're probably not going to do anything. I don't know if we necessarily actually see much in way of benefit of that. Like if a American company comes and sets up in Scotland, builds a data center in Scotland, or starts a bank in Scotland, I assume there's some benefit, but I imagine we just keep trucking on, especially since you're 8% of our GDP. What, you think losing 8% of our GDP, assets, losing 8% of our GDP is going to cripple us? And again, these aren't Scottish assets, they're foreign assets that have moved into Scotland.
But don't play the fucking capital letter, small, lowercase letter shit and be like, oh, democracy. You don't understand democracy, clearly.
As you sit here and tell me that unelected leaders have been taking position when we as a country don't elect leaders. You don't know. Maybe you know how democracy works in fucking America. You do use a lot of Americanisms. In the United Kingdom, in the Great British Isles, that is not how democracy works. And that is why I commented that way. Because you're sat there going, but we need a referendum for democracy, when you had one 10 years ago, okay? That was a democratic process. We went through it. Your side lost. And yet here we are, 10 years later, as if the government moves in 10-year increments. No, governments don't move in 10-year increments. What you're asking for is global suicide. It's suicide on the world stage for the entire United Kingdom. Even if every vote was to remain, the idea that the vote could be to leave would cripple the entire United Kingdom. You cannot do that every 10 years. You had your vote. It was a generational vote. You can wait the 30 odd years it takes, okay? You'll still be here. You'll still be kicking, and you'll still be making these terrible arguments for it.
It's been 12 years since the referendum. Fucking 12 years, not 10. We were told multiple promises in that referendum. There'll be federalism. That's what Gordon Brown said.
If you don't understand that politicians say things and then political reality means that they can't uphold those things, then why are you talking about politics?
The Better Together campaign said that the only way to remain in the European Union was to stay a part of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, so to be clear, they said this. They almost definitely said this before David Cameron pulled Brexit, right? So that's not even a lie. That was just a sincere intent for something. What are you even calling out in that bit? Yeah, they said something would happen. David Cameron did the opposite.
He said that there wouldn't be an in-out referendum on Brexit, even though David Cameron in 2013 in January literally stood on national TV and said if the Tories win the next election, they will have an in-out referendum on Brexit.
Yes, and now you're just complaining that David Cameron fulfilled a pledge. Dude. I don't think politics is... I don't think you're built for politics, dog.
And then Cameron shat the fucking bed and lost.
Yeah, but there's no conceivable winning for you. He doesn't call the referendum, and you're going to say, oh, look at these Westminster politicians always lying and not fulfilling their promises. And then he's going to do the referendum. He's going to potentially win, and you're going to say, oh, well, that was a wasted referendum. And then he's going to potentially lose, and you're going to say, oh, you never should have called this referendum. There's no winning with people like you, people that think the same as you politically, unfortunately. And I wish that wasn't true. I wish there was a way for any politician to win. I think for you it's Scottish independence, and then let that fuck itself up, but at least we're fucking ourselves up. And that just feels like such a twisted and stupid way of thinking about it, when what you're putting on the line is the life, the education, the healthcare, and the systematic advantages that Scots face and are delivered by being a part of the union.
Then they dragged us out. But then dickheads like you will be like, yeah, but it was a democratic vote because the entire United Kingdom made that decision together. Not...
I don't know why you think I would argue on the margins of a 52-48 non-binding referendum, okay? That is the closest non-binding anything ever. Okay, that is as close as it comes. Especially when I know that Scotland voted to leave at 62%. The entire country did not make this decision. And you're sat here as if I'm some sort of Brexit defender, okay? I love the EU. I'm the most European-centric guy. I'm Tony Blair when it comes to Europe, alright? Don't doubt me. I know you guys voted to remain. Fuck. Which is why I said earlier in this video that if you were just making the argument that, well, you guys voted for Brexit and we're in this for a trade union and we feel like you've let that side of the trade union down, I would sympathise with your argument more. But you're sat there going, England's going to steal our water. Like, what are we talking about?
On the backbone of Scotland having a referendum, where one of the key fucking pledges was that we would not leave the European Union. As soon as that fucking Brexit referendum was initiated, that should 100% null and void any result of a Scottish referendum.
I don't understand how democracy works, but you want to throw the entire democratic referendum just completely out the window. Okay, first of all. Second of all, I agree with your Brexit points. I just don't know why it's taken you 7 minutes, 400 gallons of spit, and some of the most pure rage I've ever seen. When the message I sent to you was just, I hope you enjoyed Africa, you're arguing for a weaker Scotland. This is like a totally out of left field. I'm a bit worried about you, to be honest.
Because the key argument fucking point was European Union membership. How do we know it's a major issue for Scots? The same amount of people that voted yes to independence voted to remain in the EU.
The same amount of people who've scratched my bumhole have scratched their own bumhole. This is a perfectly true statement. It says nothing, just like your one, but it's perfectly true.
But the fucking no campaign vote did not fucking facilitate on the other side. There was less people who voted to leave the EU than there was that voted to remain. Because it's a big fucking issue in Scotland.
This is an issue countrywide, and I'd invite you to look up Jacob Rees-Mogg debate podcasts, because he literally has a debate with a guy who says the entire vote remain EU like lobbying group only came out after the referendum had already happened. And I agree with that assessment, so I agree with your assessment. But that's not a Scottish specific issue. That was a countrywide issue. So the same failings you're pointing out there were the failings of the entire United Kingdom at the time.
Now I'm gonna fucking bet, are not fucking Scottish.
This is weird because my mum's Scottish. She lived in Scotland most of her life. Moved around Scotland, didn't settle for high school. My parents met in Edinburgh, moved down to Manchester. That's where I come into the picture. But this is just I'm half Scottish. This is just a weird argument to make. And then on top of that, I've been to Scotland many a fucking time. All right, we used to drive up. We'd go to the one. When you drive up to Scotland, just off the motorway, there's like a huge shopping centre, and all I know is they've got a Sports Direct. Okay, that's all I remember. And then we'd go to Moffat. If you know Moffat, it's got a lovely lake. We'd sit with my grandparents. We'd eat. We'd talk. We'd have a good time. And then we sometimes, and this is a crazy one, sometimes we'd go somewhere called the Samye Ling Tibetan Buddhist Center, and we had flags hanging in my back garden from that Buddhist center for over a decade at least. So claiming I'm not Scottish, as I sit here half Scottish, and my dog, Hal, he's asleep. And as my dog sits here half Scottish, as he's a blue male border collie, and the best blue male border, good boy. It's just a weird. I want to check your credentials. Why would my point be be invalidated just because I was English? That actually seems quite xenophobic. That's kind of icky. What, Angloid opinions not welcome here or something? That's again with the weird racism. I'm starting to feel quite uncomfortable by you, sir.
You gotta be some English dickhead that wants to come in and have a conversation with Scots about our right to independence and our right to our fucking democratic process to become an independent country. That's fine.
Your right to be independent is definitionally fully my mother's right and fully my granny's right, and then half my right. But even if it was not my right whatsoever, what, so I can't have an opinion? This is what, only Scots can have an opinion on the United Kingdom separating? English people don't get a say, Welsh people don't get, Irish people, none of them can even have an opinion and voice it because all you want is Scottish voice. Well, here's half a Scottish voice. Fuck you, mate, you fucking wanker.
You enjoy living in fucking England and having that domineering fucking power over your neighbouring country, but it's not a good fucking look.
I don't know what domineering power we have. That's weird. If you're angry that England is more successful than you, then just say that. That's fine. I don't sit here lavishing in domineering power. I'm a citizen of the United Kingdom. I'm at just as much of the behest of Westminster as you are. If Westminster tomorrow signed a law and said all people with Lil Nit as their TikTok account will be sentenced to death, there's fuck all I can do. I'm just a man. Okay? I'm just a guy. Why are you ascribing power upon me, sir? I'm powerless. And again, this I agree you haven't seen this video yet, but this entire video I've been calling it a union. It is a union. And I said that if we wanted your water, we'd just take it. Yeah, we'd give you a fuck ton of money and we'd just take it. The only way in which we domineer you is we have a very dominant GDP within England that is not held within Scotland. That doesn't seem like domineering to me. That just seems like one country within a union is more successful than the other country within that union. Now, if you're arguing that it should be split 50-50, I'd hear that argument, but I'm not going to hear that argument on the back of, I don't want to hear your English opinion, Mike. I don't know why I gave you Australian, that was weird.
What this is going to do is consistently damage the relationship between Scotland and England.
So sitting there and saying that I'm just a stupid Englishman trying to discuss and determine the sovereignty of Scots and that my opinion doesn't matter, to sit there and say, well, you're not even Scottish. I mean, this is such pot kettle. Who are you pushing away? Who are you? Because I've been nothing but cordial. All I did was say, I hope you had a nice time in Africa. You're arguing for a weaker Scotland. You don't understand democracy. Okay? You are arguing for a weaker Scotland. I do hope you enjoyed Africa. It's at the bottom of my heart. Tanzania. Sounds lovely. And the last thing I said, you don't understand democracy, is also 100% true. You've illustrated that for the last 9 minutes. I mean, we're 8 minutes through-ish, but the last 9 minutes.
And when we do go independent, there's going to be a lot more backlash from the Scottish political sector against England because of this shit.
That backlash will be coming, and I cannot reiterate this enough. I cannot reiterate this enough, dog. I'm actually going to come to you. I'm not even going to drag the camera to me. Okay, I'm coming. Oh, I've got my cable. Uno momento. You'd be arguing as the weaker side. What do you think you're getting? What do you think your backlash is going to get you? Your biggest trading partners are the UK. You will not be able to just join the EU, especially not with all this... Oh my god, I'm so sway. You will not be able to join the EU, especially with the corruption stuff. It's not going to happen, okay? You're sat here talking about a fantastical future that has never and will never exist. I cannot reiterate it enough. And to be clear, I'm not talking about the future where you join the EU. That's a perfectly reasonable future. I could see that. You know, you're in it before. Why not? The future I'm talking about is a future where Scottish backlash means anything. You will be the weaker negotiating party, and you will be the party that is negotiating stuff away. Because of the investment, and because of the need for resources, and because the United Kingdom, sans Scotland, is still like 12 times as big, dude. Yeah, and then you sit here and you say you're not arguing for a weakened Scotland. None of this makes sense.
We have to deal with consistently seeing English politicians on TV.
I tend to have that problem too. I turn the TV off.
Shoot us fucking down, deny that they would ever trade with Scotland, which is fucking hilarious, because again, where are you getting your resources from?
I can't believe I have to explain this to you. England, Wales and Northern Ireland are Scotland's biggest trading partners. And if I was to look up the UK, I'm going to do it right now. If I was to look up the UK's biggest trading partners, who do you think they'd be? Because I know number one's America. Okay. Yeah, so number one is America, followed by Germany and the Netherlands. That's probably where we'd get our resources from, because that's where we get our resources from now. You are not a big trading partner to us. You are us. And the idea, sure, I think the idea that we would just not negotiate with the Scots is absurd. The idea that we would negotiate with the Scots and the Scots would get every single thing that they could ever dream of, and their GDP would remain completely unaffected, and their GDP per capita would remain completely unaffected. That is just as stupid. So I don't know why you're calling him out, because he's just the opposite end to you.
You don't have anything. You don't produce enough fucking energy as it is. Then you fucked yourselves and left the European Union. Enjoy the fucking transfer charges of getting energy for the continent.
I don't know why you just assume automatic entry into the EU, okay? All the EU member states have to agree. This is absurd. I don't know why you just assume automatic independence vote. That's also fucking stupid. But sure, I mean, whatever floats your boat, I guess. And again, it just feels vaguely xenophobic. Ah, yous don't have anything. Yous don't make enough energy. Yous don't do this. Yous don't do. Okay. You run your economy in Scotland at a structural deficit that Westminster pays for. Yous don't do anything neither, mate. I understand that's a double negative. I did it on purpose. Don't. I'm watching.
Genuinely, I wish you the best of luck. But the more you guys come in and do this shit, the less likely people like me and the majority of Scotland are gonna want to fucking deal with people like you post-independence.
Okay, I don't know if I can shatter this fantasy for you, okay? But the UK is the UK is in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland and Scotland. Does not hinge on Scotland, okay? In any capacity. We could stop trading with you and we would fill those trading gaps immediately because the trading gaps are nothing because you're not one of our biggest trading partners. The quicker you can get this through your head, the quicker you can smash these illusions of grandeur for the Scottish state and start living in objective reality, the sooner we can start making real arguments for Scottish independence and maybe get there one day, okay? But this is, and you keep making the argument that I'm pushing away Scots, making Scots not want to argue with us. What? Because I made fun of you individually for not understanding how democracy in the United Kingdom works? As you sit here and fucking tell me that my Angloid views are not okay? That my Anglican English heritage somehow invalidates me from even discussing this subject? Because you, as a Scot, are some sort of pure blood that has the honour and the right? Even though I'm half Scottish, remember, so...
All we're gonna do is laugh at you and just be like, on your bike, fuck off. Because... I'm sorry, like, this shit here, there's no fucking way that you're a Scot. I can tell you right now.
Okay, so for the record, on screen right now is the comment that I made on this guy's TikTok account that he is currently devaluing my ties to my Scottish heritage with, okay? Now, I fail to see how this disparages Scotland in any way whatsoever, or would nullify my existence as Scottish. I don't know why that would remove the Scot, because you know what? My mother would agree with this and my granny would agree with this, and they're both pure blood Scottish, raised in Scotland, born in Scotland, heart in Scotland. So explain to me why them agreeing with that would make them less of a Scot. And if it doesn't, then why does it make me less of a Scot? And why does it make me quote unquote not a Scot at all? Or are Scots to you the only Scots that want independence? And I've been joking and jiving, we've been having a good time, but this is genuinely concerning. This doesn't disparage Scotland in any way, this isn't rude, this isn't mean. And you're sat here going, you're pushing Scots away. Why? Because I have an opinion? This is genuinely actually quite disheartening. I'm at a loss for words because I just don't know what to say to this. I've not attacked. This is you've been hurling spittle at your camera for 9 minutes, and all I said was, I hope you enjoyed Africa. You're arguing for a weaker Scotland, and you don't understand democracy. You proved you don't understand democracy. You are arguing for a weaker Scotland, even if you don't want to admit it. That's a cut. Weird thing. But I do genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I hope you enjoyed Africa. Tanzania sounds sick. Holy fuck. Like, I don't understand where all this anger and vitriol. You're clearly not Scottish. You're spouting union piss. I don't know where all of this has come from me just disagreeing with you. Okay? This is out of left field.
With the anti-democratic shite you put at the bottom, you ask most Scots, even the folk who were against independence, and I bet you in the bottom dollar they'll say that we should still have the fucking right to a referendum.
And again, I find myself asking, are they Scots who don't believe that less Scottish? Just because You, as a true Scot, believe it? Because that is the argument that you're pushing when you say you're clearly not Scottish because you believe this. Fuck me. You were being xenophobic to British people earlier. You were xenophobic to Algerian people, and now you're being xenophobic to Scottish people. It's getting out of hand.
All the little trolley shitbags that come in with no profile picture, they're just like, Scots voted no!
That's weird, because in this comment, and I feel like in this video, the vast majority of my reasons for Scotland not seceding are not because they voted not to. I don't think I've used that argument once. You're actually fighting the piss demons inside your balls right now. I cannot argue against this. I agree with you, that's a stupid argument. I never said it. And faceless profile picture. This profile picture, I'm actually going to edit it in here if I can. I'm actually going to try and do it. Alright? This profile picture. This is me at like 14, dog. I have a. I guess my face isn't in it, but that's me. I'm not some faceless random. And maybe it's because I don't have my face in any of my videos, but that's about to change, boy.
They're all dickheads. No one cares. Their opinion doesn't matter. Fuck them.
Yep, there's that anti-English xenophobia out in ripe form again. Oof. This is not a good look for you, dude. And I'm never deleting this. Like, I downloaded your video like 4 times because it made me laugh so much on like 4 different devices. Because I love this video. Okay, I'm actually so happy that you made this.
What matters is the democratic right to actually have a referendum that you and other dickheads like you are denying from a country of 5.6 million fucking people.
If your true main goal is absolute democracy, why do we just all 4 countries hold a referendum? Now, you don't want that because we've got a higher population than you, but why not, eh? If democracy is your main goal, why not take into account all the democratic peoples within the unions? Union, but it's a union between multiple countries, so we'll call it unions. Well, that's what I want to see you out there campaigning for. It's an open call to arms, in fact. In fact, I'm calling you out. If democracy is your main goal, the entire country should vote. Just about Scottish independence, not about Welsh independence and Northern Irish independence. We can get to those separately. The entire country can vote on those too. But if your main goal is purely democracy, I want to see you make that call, buddy. You won't. You won't even respond to this video, most likely. Not that anybody will have made it this far, and if you did, fuck me. Cheers, I guess. Thank you. You didn't have to.
It's a joke. No one in Scotland is going to respect this kind of opinion. Anyway, go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna make my closing statements, my closing arguments. Scotland would lose all of its international bodies, including World Health Organization. So it would lose like advanced pandemic warning, which nobody wants to talk about, but it's true. That is what would happen. He makes no actual arguments for Scottish independence other than we'd have £2,000 more that we already have. Weird one. And that England's going to steal our water, which we've never done, and your own government debunks this. So, also weird. You've made multiple xenophobic attacks against the English, against the Algerians. To be clear, the Algerian ones is a joke. I am joking. I don't. You took it to a race, like weird Africa people are weak thing, but you know, I'm not holding that against you as xenophobic. I understand, and clearly you're in the heats of passion. You're very, very fired up, so I can't really hold that one against you. But yeah, in terms of closing statements, you've made almost no points in terms of Scottish independence. I think I've made plenty during the hour or so that we've been going on this, which is why I keep looking at this, by the way, because I'm not like looking at the time or anything. I'm just looking at myself in the camera like a vain twat. But there I am. So. But yeah, you've made no points for Scottish independence. You've made multiple xenophobic attacks for absolutely no reason, and you seem to view Scots as purely independence-seeking machines, which is not what we are. And I'm saying we because I'm half Scottish, and if you don't like that, I refer you to the previous clip where I did a Scottish accent and said fuck you. So also, I don't dislike you. You seem to be quite mad at a relatively simple statement here, but a lot of what I've been saying here is just jokes. Like, yeah, uh, you're Scottish. I assume you can take a little jab. All right. Have genuinely. I hope you enjoyed Tanzania. I hope there's more Tanzania in the future because the way you're talking about it in the video seemed that you like it. And yeah, ultimately, I've seen some of your other videos. I know you're a socialist, so I think you have a baby's political understanding of the world. And your ideas for Scottish independence of just being able to negotiate so Scotland gets everything is very similar to the socialist ideology of just it'll just work because everyone will make it work. So you know what? I agree. Um, big up fucking I don't know. Who do you want me to big up? Jill Stein? That's how I feel, doesn't it? Alright, I'm gonna end the video now. I just look at what I have to deal with. To everyone else and to you, have a good night, okay? Don't. I would like a follow up on this, and if we could have like an actual conversation where we're not spitting at each other, that would be great. But obviously, that's not going to happen. And yeah, so I hope one day, potentially, I hope it's when I'm dead, but I hope one day potentially Scotland either gets independence or allows more, not allows more, but gains more liberal voices to argue for Scotland. Because this was not it, and I want you to know that. Good night.